video using the regular Cricut expression and the Cricut cartridge. Now this is a viewer's request, and in front of you can see all the materials that I've got out ready to use. So let me just run through. I've got sort of starting at the top really, we've got obviously our Cricut cartridge here. I've got some gorgeous sparkly gems. These are by Kaisercraft and they're called sparklets, and you can see they're absolutely stunning. Now I may or may not use those, but they just went so lovely. I thought there might be somewhere that we could put those. I've got a Martha Stewart punch, got some ribbon, I've got Pink by Design stamps, and this is Woodland Critters. And then I've got several pieces of card. So this pile here is going to be what I'm going to be using for my cuts on the Cricut cartridge. Then I have got my pieces of card and paper, pattern paper for my base card. Nice pattern paper which I printed off from the Knitwits collections, and that's one of their papers. It's lovely, it's come out really nicely. And then I've got various plain cardstock. This is Paper Mania, I think, and then this is a Crate & Craft, a bit more heavyweight cardstock. It's white on the inside, but that's going to make our card base. I'm going to be making a A5 card, so essentially A4 folded in half on that line. Now don't press too hard, just do a few goes down. Okay, and then again what I do is I put it into the corner of my Martha Stewart scoreboard. This helps to make sure that when I'm folding it that it actually folds squarely, because it is very easy for it just to go off a little bit. So the next layer that I want to create is my first mat. Now I need it to come in just a little bit so that I can see my lovely green. So I'm going to cut just a small amount. So if we took it to 8 inches and just cut along there, and let's see how that looks. And I think that's a really nice size. And then we need to just take a small amount off the bottom. We are going to be punching across the top, so I think first things before you decide exactly what size it is, I find it's better to punch the top first, and the reason is that quite often the punches go deeper than you think, or they don't go as deep, so you end up with the wrong measurements. Especially problematic if it ends up that you've cut too much off because the punch cuts in further than you thought. I've got a mat here with a 0 centre line, so I can put it 4 inches either side of the 0, so then I can just mark on that centre line. Turning the paper over so you can see your mark, and turning your punch over on this occasion, just lining the mark up with the centre of our dot. Then we know that when we go each way we're going to end up with exactly the same design finishing, so it doesn't finish with half a one this end and a whole one this end, and just looks a bit nasty. Okay, so now with the punches, all we want to do, line the punch that we've already done. There's silver on here, and we want to make sure we can see the silver through the holes. So we line, you put this, first of all you make sure that this part is butted up against the bar here, because otherwise it's twisted, and then slide it down until you can just see that it's in the perfect position, like so. And then personally I would hold it and then punch again. And then you can see you've got a perfect repeat. Okay, so that's now punched all the way across, and you can see how pretty that looks. But I do want a little bit of a gap at the top, just in order that we can enjoy some of the lovely colour that's there. So again, I think the easiest thing is to mark this and just do it by eye as to where you want to cut. So I'm lining it up where I want it, and then I'm just putting a little mark on the bottom there. Just tell you that that ends up at probably about 5 1/4 inches approximately. And then when you line it up, as I say, we're going to make sure that gap is the same. Now we can actually stick this one down, because the ribbon that I'm going to do is going to go around the next layer. So let's just take an ATG or one of these glue runners, tape runners, or anything that you like to use. Now, I wouldn't personally run a glue runner over where you punch, but I do like it to be glued. So what I tend to do is either use one of my Zig, which is very good, or a glue stick, and just again lining it up so that the 3 sides are in position. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is cut our paper to the 8 inches and our card to the 8 inches width, so it matches up with the width of the cardstock, the layer that we've already got on there. And make sure you don't leave that over the blade area, because I've done that before as well. And then with your pattern paper, just get a piece, the part of the pattern that you quite like. I don't exactly know the width that I want yet, so I'm going to leave that so I know it's, sorry, the depth that I want. Our card, and let's have a think what we want. So I want those 2 layers like so, and I want it to kind of have enough space for my stamp up here. So that's going to be about there, and again I think we're going to flip this over, and this one is going to be our deepest part, so I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to have it more gap at the top than we are at the bottom. And I'm just going to mark roughly where I want it to finish, so it's about there. So we'll line that up so that so if we make that 4 inches, so it's slightly wider than I marked, and we'll see how that works. Then we want to take the next one a 1/4 inch down from that, so we want that to be, let's try 1/8 of an inch down actually, so we want 1/8 of 4 inches, so 3 7/8. And our pattern paper, we're going to do 3 3/4. So let's take our paper layer first. And then that's going on to our purple layer. Whoops. So again, just making sure that it's even top and bottom. Okay, so we've done that. Nice border there. And then we're going to put this one onto our blue. So that's that section done. So just take your ribbon, again making sure if there is a side that you have it the right way up, and then we're going to take it around the back, and I'm not going to stick it down yet because we can then have some movement later. If when we put our Create a Cricut on, we'll have some room to move it about if we need to, because it's not stuck. So just take your 2 ribbon ends, cross them over, take this side underneath, and then pull. I'm trying to do this like so, and then just push your finger down, because I'm trying to make sure you can see, and then again cross it over, and then pull it. And then pull it at an angle if that's what you want. I wanted my tags to come off at an angle. If you want them to come straight, then pull them straight. And then just taking your scissors, just cut at an angle, cut like that. Okay. So then now, because of how we've not stuck that down, we can move that about as and when we need to. So I'm not going to stick this to the base card yet, because then that will give us that opportunity when we've done our little critter. Okay, before we actually go to the Cricut itself, I just wanted to run through one thing, and that is just determining the size that we want to use. Now, if you've got a gypsy, it's easy because all you need to do is put in your base card square as a template, and then just use the gypsy to position your element over that square and decide, how much you want it to fill. However, it's just, not difficult to do if you're doing it by eye either. So what we do is we put our card down to measure it. As you can see, the card is just under 6 inches high, and it's the height that counts with the Cricut. When you're doing your measurements, that is the only thing that you need to think about. The width will be determined by the height because it's all proportionate, and it is the height that you're putting in when you turn the dial on the Cricut machine for your inches. Okay, so if we have a look here, I know that if I put say I had my critter at 4 inches, so that he would start at the 0 up to the 4 inches, that looks to me like quite a nice size. So I literally just do it by eye. If I'd have done 5 inches, he's going to be filling that up a little bit too much, and even I think with 4.5 inches, that's a bit too big. So it's really simple. It's just by eye and what you think looks correct. And so all you need to do is peel back. Now, I would not use a brand new mat unless you don't have a choice, unless you are using cardstock, because with paper it will be too sticky and it will tear your paper when you try to pull it off. Okay, so now let's just have a look at our manual. So we're on page 61. We've decided that we're going to be doing a little skunk here. So the first layer is here. Now when you look at your manual, anything on the bottom of the boxes, when we'll worry about what the boxes are for in a moment, but anything on the bottom of the boxes is just pressing the key. Now it may be pressing another key, one of the feature keys as well, but at the moment it's just the key and not the shift button. If you want anything from the top layer, you need to press the image button with the shift button, and then you'll get the upper image. So in this case, if I press just the skunk button, it will get him. If I press the skunk plus the shift, or shift then skunk, then I would get the little tree trunk. Now these boxes here are your feature keys. Now if I just bring my keypad across, you can see down each keypad will have different names for the feature keys, because they might represent something different, but they're always in the same place. And it is a little bit confusing in that, you know, it's not laid out in the same way as it is on here. But if you just read, it says here layer 1, and that's layer 1. So just do it through that rather than position. Okay, so now before we go to the Cricut, what we do need to do is put our paper or card onto the mat. So the first layer that we've got here is just the key itself, and that's the skunk. Now you have to sort of work out what layer is what. So if you have a look here, what you'll find is that's the complete image. The only thing on here that is a complete image is actually the background, which is where the little eyes are showing through, and the little ears. So it's actually going to be the black on this image. So it's very little of it is showing through. Then, I mean, they've done a degree of colour coding here, so you can see here the grey will be the grey here. Because you're layering things up, it's sometimes like with the black, you're cutting it all out, but you only then at the end get to see the little eyes and the ears. And it's the same with this grey layer. You're cutting that out, but because you're then layering on the purple layer, you see very little of the grey. So then the next layer, as I just said, was the purple layer, and then finally we've got the little nose, which is this pink here. So we need to sort of think, well, I want to do a 4-inch image, so I need to have enough cardstock for each element, but obviously like the little nose, it's relative, so it's going to be relatively quite small, so we don't need as much card. This particular image, these layers are all pretty similar in size, but like this tree trunk, you've got 3 very different sized images, so you can then have less and less card on this one. Okay, so going back to our skunk, my base layer, I'm going to be doing purple. Now when you feed your mat, the blade will start up here in this top right corner. So the first thing that you want to cut, you should start there. And so the first one I will be cutting is the base layer. So I'm going to put my piece of card and just stick that down. And I've used a nice dark purple which matches in with the purple on my actual card base we've already created. Then when you finish cutting that, it will then move to here. So the next layer that we want to cut is the grey layer. So that one I am using this kind of aqua colour. So I'm going to pop that one up there. It will then, when it knows it hasn't got enough space, it will shoot up to here, or you press line return. So the next layer is the purple layer. So we're going to actually use purple on this one. And we'll pop that in that corner there. And then the last layer that we're going to cut is the little nose. And then again, the same thing, it will move over to here. So I'm just going to pop my little pink piece like so. So we're now at the Cricut, and as you can see, it's the regular Cricut expression, which is, I think, what I was asked to deal with. So obviously the first thing we do is open it up, and before you switch it on, just pull up a little view mirror here, we take our overlay and we place that in position, and you'll find it kind of wriggles down over the keys, because you can see there's actually keys there, they're just blank keys until you put this on. And then what happens is when you put the cartridge in, that tells the machine what those keys are meant to do. So then before you switch it on, place your cartridge in. I don't think it matters which way round it is, however I personally would always put the name forward and just carefully pop it in, and it will click into position. On just by pressing this on off switch up here, and it just takes a few minutes to get its head in gear about what it's doing. So the first thing I want to do is load my mat. So to load your mat, it's arrow first. There's a little guide here, so just place it up against the guide and then hit load mat, which is down here, or load paper rather. So just click that key and the machine will take the mat in. Now we need to set our different settings. Now there are 3 settings to think about. You've got your blade, you've got your pressure, and you've got your speed. Now when you've got something as heavy cardstock like this, you'll have it on maximum blade, which is 6. 1 is the smallest number, so therefore it is the smallest amount of blade that is going through the card. The 6 is the highest number, so there's more blade coming through. With the pressure and the speed, it's the same. The lower the number, the slower or the less pressure there is, etc. Now again, with something, if you're doing heavy cardstock, then and you've got your blade on 6, that usually corresponds, your blade and your pressure will normally be similar. It just shows you here, the little bars are, that's for the pressure, and the one next door is for the speed. This here shows you the size, and you don't need to worry about that one for the moment. And that's just telling us that it's a 12 by 12, the 12-inch mat, as opposed to a different, you know, the bigger one, the 24-inch. Okay, so when you move the dial, you can see it changes not only the little dots, but it also tells you in writing where you are. So I'm going to go on maximum pressure because I know that I need it for this cardstock, and it is just trial and error. If you're not sure, just get a piece that you're going to use and just do a little test cut. And then I am actually going to have it on maximum speed. The cut isn't hugely complicated or intricate, so I think that it will be absolutely fine on the maximum speed. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is actually tell the machine what it is we want it to cut, and in order to do that, it's just a case of pressing these buttons. To know which button you want to press, you can use the images on here, but the easiest way is to use the book as I showed you. So the first layer that we want to do is this one here. Now, as we already said, that is simply pressing the image button itself. So we find our little skunk and we press that key. So 1, that it comes up the image and a description, so you can, if you're not sure, like there's a squirrel I think on here as well, so that might look quite similar in the image, but it also tells you, well, that's a skunk. Now the one thing we haven't done yet is set our size. Using the little roller on this side here, so we're going to set it to 4 inches, and it tells you the size just here as we showed you just now. Size, your blade, your pressure and your speed. Once you know that all of that is done, then you can press cut, and your cut button is just here. Just press it once. Use our little arrow keys, which are just in case we just simply want to move down the page. So we just move it until we get it into the position that we want it to be. So just on that piece of cardstock there. And now we want to tell the machine what we want to cut next. Now we don't want to change the size anymore because we want these layers to stay the same because we're doing the same image. And I'm also happy with the pressure and the speed and my dial. So the only thing that we're adding at this point is we're giving it the next cut instruction. So the next thing we want to do is layer 1. So we're going to press our layer 1 key, and you can see it lights up, and then we're going to press our little skunk key. And you can see in the window here, skunk, and then you've got the skunk with the little eyes, etc. Okay, so now obviously there's not going to be any space if it was the same colour for us to cut again there. Now, so all we need to do is press line return, which is just here. And pressing line return takes you back to the bottom of the page, but to the next cut position at the bottom of the page. If you press load paper again, it would take you to the top right hand corner. So if for any reason you needed to go back there. But again, clearly that's not quite the right position for us, so we're just going to use our arrow keys to move across. And then the next cut is layer 2, and as soon as you press layer 2, layer 1 will come off, so you don't need to switch layer 1 off. And then we're going to press the skunk, and it's going to come up in here, and it's just going to show us the image, and you can see there's just a little bit more out of that image. Cut. And then our final cut, so we need to just go use our diagonal key here. Okay, so the last layer is layer 3, and that's his little nose. And then we're going to press the little skunk again, and it should come up in the window a big dot, which it won't hopefully be a big dot. As long as you don't have real dial size on, it will cut it proportionate, so it will cut a tiny little nose that will fit a 4-inch character rather than a nose that is 4 inches. And that only just went on that piece of paper, so I was very lucky. Okay, so that is all our cuts complete. So now we need to unload paper. So that's just this button over here. So we just press that and be ready to catch the mat if you haven't got a table, like I haven't got a table. My table's not that deep. So then that's all our cuts. We put that ready, and we'll go back to our table and pull those off and start putting him together. Okay, so we're back at the table now. So all we need to do is start removing our pieces. So I remove the excess around the element rather than trying to pull the element out first. So just pull that off. You can either keep those bits or not. Okay, so we've got all our little elements, so let's pop them out like so, and let's start to put our little skunk together. So you're going to need a zig glue pen and a tape pen. So first of all, we're going to take the first layer, which is this layer. It's kind of like decoupage usually. It kind of tends to go smaller, but not always. And then just using your tape pen on the bigger pieces, and then you'll be able to use your glue pen on the smaller pieces where it needs gluing, like round on this little fluffy bits here, on his ears. Just get some more glue coming out back because it's a bit dry. Around where the eyes are and the mouth, etc. You guys have been watching me long enough to know I'm a bit obsessed with making sure every little piece is glued down. I just don't like it when you get like a little corner on your card sticking up or something because you haven't put the glue right there. So then when you position it, it's often easier to pick it up because then you can kind of use your fingers and just feel that it's in the right place. And then just press down like so, and then the next piece. Isn't he so cute? I do like those colours. I think that works really nicely. Pleased with that. Now, I'm thinking that it might be quite cute to put googly eyes on him. I've got these gorgeous little googly eyes that have got like eyelashes and things, so I've got them in the pink colour, so I thought that might look quite cute. So let's pop that in position. There we go. Isn't that cute? Okay. I just love that, that's so cute. Okay, so the other thing I was just thinking was I got those crystal gems out in this aqua colour, but I also have them in this gorgeous pink, and I was just wondering if that would look really cute. So I'm just going to put it down, whoa, without any glue gel. Oh yeah. I think that's really sweet. So just before I put my flower on, I've got a little bit of ribbon in this sort of aqua colour, and I'm going to tie that around her neck to make a pretty little bow. Okay, and then just snip off the excess. Okay, and then we want to put on the little flower. So I've got a lovely little sparkly flower here in the same colours. So I'm just going to pop a bit of glue gel on the back here. Okay, and then I've got one of those little sparklers again, but I've got that in a lovely little purpley colour. So I'm just going to fill the back and pop that down. So that's our little skunk all cut and decorated, ready now to put our card together. Okay, so here's our card base. And you can obviously decorate the inside, and I usually do, so I will be putting some sort of insert on there, and I may use my excess paper to do that. But before we carry that on, I'm just going to position everything, because I want to work out, oh that's so cute, exactly where I want my ribbon, etc. Oh, that's so gorgeous. Okay, so I think we can move our ribbon over a little bit. I think that looks good. First of all, we should stamp our sentiment on, because I think it'll be easier while this is still flat. So the sentiment that I'm taking is from this Woodland Critter set by Pink by Design, and this Stinking of You I thought was rather cute because he's a skunk, or she's a skunk, she's definitely not a boy. So we're going to use that one. Pop that where I want it. Just get a rough idea by positioning our layer. So we'll just pull it over here so I can see. Pop my block on and get some ink. Okay, I've got this dark blue, and I think it's almost black, but it's just coming in those tones, so that should just be a bit more in keeping. Okay, so I want to make sure that I hit that in the right spot. Perfect. So now we're going to take our layer that we created, and I'm going to use my glue gel, but you could use 3D foam if you wanted some height. I'm not going to give it any particular height, but I am just going to use the glue gel because we've got ribbon behind, but ATG will work fine. At the bottom here, making sure the gap is all the same, then just giving it a bit of a squidge. Okay, and then lastly we're going to take our little skunk, and I'm going to use my glue gel again. This time I am going to put a little bit of height. Okay, and I think that looks quite a nice position. Then just very gently tapping it down. We don't want to squash it so that it's flat on this occasion, so I'm just trying to make sure it's stuck but not squashed down. Okay, and there is our finished card. So I hope you've enjoyed this step-by-step tutorial with me, and I hope you think this card is as gorgeous as I think it is. I think it looks absolutely stunning, and I hope you like it too. Thanks for watching, and I'd love to hear your comments, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye!